Yo, welcome to episode 29 of the Put On Podcast. This is our second one this week, which is pretty fucking crazy. Pat on the back for that. D, you wanted to say something about our color coordination again?
Yeah, well, first off, yo. I think this is a coincidence that we keep wearing the same colors. We're in all black this time. We were in forest green the last time.
We need some like yellow. We need some crazy colors.
Well, I would just say this is that the other day I went to that Krungbin concert I told you about. I went with my boy Johnny, and I rolled up to his house. We were taking an Uber from his house, and like we were wearing the same outfit. Like we had like gray hoodie, black shirt, like same colored jeans. I was like, we cannot roll up to this concert like looking, exactly the same. I made it so he had to change because I just felt embarrassed. Yeah,
I feel like that's a classic fit. If I could imagine you in a fit, like I know exactly what gray hoodie you're talking about. You rock those same jeans, the blue, and then you got the black. Yeah, man, that's a classic fit. I should have known. We got to mock that up, like an image of that specific fit. You be rocking.
I'm like
that
Mark Zuckerberg. You know how Mark Zuckerberg
you kind of are, man.
Yeah, he wears that same outfit. Yeah. Once you get older, man, it's just like you don't want to think too hard about it.
I get that. I'm more of a classic guy as well. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get right into it. A draft of the best sport walkouts, top 5, each of us. So
wait. Before you just jump right in it, I just do want to say one thing about sports walkouts. Okay.
And that is?
I love sports walkouts. Like I think it's such a underrated thing that people don't like put enough shine on. I did a video a while back on them, and I just think like it's one of those things where whenever I'm watching sports and I see a great walkout, it always gets me hype.
Same. I have only been around for 23 years, so there might be a couple of these on my list that predate even my existence, just from a novelty standpoint. But I've got the number 1 pick. We decided that pre-pod, so I'm gonna go first, and then we're just gonna go 1-1. So at the number 1, I am going to go back to 1997.
Wow.
Game 6 of the NBA Finals, the game after the famous flu game. Alan Parsons Project, Sirius, the Chicago Bulls walk out, go out and win an NBA championship. That song, man, just like, iconic. That's my number 1. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. It's iconic. You're already kind of violating the rules of this game in that that's not really a walkout song. They actually played that when they were already on the court. I'm going to allow it just because at this point, like
it was like they were walking. I mean, like,
isn't that like a player intro song? Whatever. Okay, fine.
No,
I'll give
it was when they were coming out.
All right. I am going to go with a more recent one, okay? Just because I loved this when it happened in the tournament last year. NC State walking out, led by DJ Burns, to the Boss Man D-Lo track, Get In With Me. Every single time they did it, it was just like, that was one of those things where I was just like jealous. Like, oh man, I wish I could just be a college basketball player just so I could do this walkout to some awesome rap song like that. That's my number 1 pick.
Number 1 pick. That's really recent. I bet some people wouldn't have seen that. So we got to put people back onto that. But my number 2 is, I'm going to the UFC. I mean, the UFC walkouts, you got to be there. I'm going to UFC 189, Conor McGregor, Foggy Dew, sung live, walking out with the Irish flag on him. Fucking iconic.
It's great. That's not the one I thought you were going to do. And because you did that one, I'm going to go and take a UFC walkout as well. And I'm going to go Patty the Batty, doing that little mix of the Sonnery James and Ryan Marciano's Lethal Industry with the yeah, heads will roll. where's your head at? Every single time he goes out and does that walkout and they show the stands, oh man, I love that walkout. I love Patty the Baddy's walkout.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. There's probably one other UFC one in my draft board. I don't have Patty the Batty that I think is above that, but we'll see if that even makes my top five. For my number three, I am going to go with. I'm gonna change it up here. Brian Robinson Jr. of the Commanders ran out onto the
Mm,
field to many men after he was shot twice in front of a commander. So that was just like that video. So that's my three.
that's a great
You
choice. I
you know
wasn't
the
even
you
thinking
do
about
you
it.
know the
I
one I'm
know
talking about?
exactly what you're talking about, and it was such a good walkout that I feel like
Bro.
so many people have copied it since then, right? Like even like
Yeah.
Trump walked
Yeah,
out at the
he did. He
Republican
did.
convention to
To
it.
many
Like,
men. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He
okay,
did.
um, I am gonna go with my third pick. Just have to pay respects to the Niners with the boombox led by Debo Samuel and Trent Williams.
It's a good one.
You know, a lot of times the songs that they're playing aren't my favorite songs, but it's just like so hard every single time that they're walking out. The guy's got the giant, giant
Yeah,
boombox, and
he
Debo at the
does it
front
well.
with Trent
Yeah, yeah,
Williams
yeah.
always rapping. Like, I don't know. There's nothing better to me than that, than like a whole football team just ready to run out and getting all hyped up.
That's a good one. I'm gonna match you then. I'm gonna go with my 4 to 2018. Again, speaking of not your favorite songs, I know you've been a little public about this in the group chat recently, but 2018 Eagles win the Super Bowl and they walk out to Dreams and Nightmares, which I fuck with that song to get me hyped before a game. Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill, who is from Philly. They were massive underdogs, first Super Bowl since 1960. And so Eagles 2018 walking out to Dreams and Nightmares, Meek Mill. That's my four.
Okay, it's a good one. Um, I have to include this one just because I'm a diehard Mets fan. And when it started popping off and they started doing it, Edwin Diaz walking out to Narcos by Timmy Trumpet. First couple of times they did it, like from behind, showing him walk,
Yep.
electric. So I have to include it. Probably should have been a little bit higher. I just remembered it. But yeah, that one. Edwin Diaz, his walkout from the bullpen. There's a lot of good baseball bullpen walkouts.
There are great base. Yeah, Mariano's got a call. Yeah, there's. I am gonna go with my five a different route and show a little bit of love to my sport actually. So this probably is nowhere near your top five. And there's a couple I'm skipping that I'm sad about. I want to give honorable mention at the end,
Same,
but
same.
but in 2018 the Iceland World Cup team. That was the first time Iceland had made the World Cup ever. And they walked out. Iceland's a small nation. They walked out to a sea of their, Vikings, their fans, just with the straight fuck it. You got to watch the video. Like the walkout is, bro, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Like, whole stadium is just doing this clap in rhythm. And they're walking out for the first match of a World Cup ever in the country's history. Shit's iconic. Iceland 2018 walkout, the clap. So it's not a specific song, but that's my five. I had to throw it in there. Get a little footy.
Mm. Um. Okay. My five is gonna be, man. I have a couple to choose from, and I'm just gonna go with a more recent one, just because I loved watching these videos and just when they were going down 2022 Memphis Grizzlies walkout with Dylan Brooks doing his little
Yep.
like dance to the law of recognition KYS lingo. I actually don't even know if that was the song that they were walking out to, but that was the one that they kept putting on all the clips. You know the dance I'm talking about, right? Where they're like,
Yeah, yeah.
na na
It's
na
a
na
fire
na.
dance.
Yeah, and sometimes like I think that the Memphis Grizzlies made a mistake trading Dylan Brooks just for like the vibes that he brought
He's a
pregame.
dog.
Yeah, and like the dancing, and that's like a big, I don't know, that to me that's like culture, and that's how you kind of like galvanize your team. But love that, loved
I
watching those
mean,
videos.
Dylan Brooks is Canadian as well, so he's got that dog in him, and he's a good guard. I fuck with Dylan Brooks, even though he's
All right,
got some backlash. My
let's
honorable
go
mention.
back and forth on honorable mentions real quick. Okay.
Yeah, I've just got two, so I can
Okay.
keep it quick. I'm an honorable mention Izzy Adesanya, UFC 276 against Pereira, walking out to the Undertaker theme song. It was fucking badass. He's got
This
great
is
walkouts.
that is I remember that one, and that is it was a badass one. The only one that I feel bad about not including was Mike Tyson's walkout
Mm,
when he was fighting this guy. I think his name was Francois
yeah,
Botha, and he walked out to DMX's intro so hard. There were a lot of good Mike Tyson walkouts.
he's
He
got good. Yeah,
Time for Some Action, like that was like the one all the way back in the day. So a couple Mike Tyson walkouts. You have any others?
my last honorable mention is he did. I remember him walking out to this, but 2014 in Cleveland. LeBron James, 10 years since he's been back. He's Phil Collins. I mean, that song is a classic.
Great
In the
song.
air tonight. So yeah, that's my last honorable mention.
So I have one that I really love every single time they do it is Virginia Tech when they do the walkout to Enter Sandman by
Okay.
Metallica.
Yeah.
Um, I couldn't like think of who exactly had this song, but Welcome to the Jungle. I think it was Eric Gagne would do it when he came out for the Dodgers when he was like closing games.
Okay. I'm not
And
familiar with
then
that.
I'm going to give you just two like sports movie ones that I think are classic walkouts. Uh, Rick Vaughn, Wild Thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's a good
By the
one.
Trogs, right? Classic. Jim, this one you definitely won't know, but James the Grim Reaper Roper. I think it was a boxing movie, like a comedy. I can't even remember what it was called. I didn't even write it down. With Damon Wayans, where he walks out to a Method Man song.
Okay.
I came to bring the pain. That song, and then the last one I
Okay.
had, even though again it's not really a sports walkout, and I can't believe you didn't even mention the Morgan Wallen walkouts that he does before
Well,
the concerts.
I thought we were doing just sports, man. Oh, the Morgan Wallen walkouts are
Yeah.
fucking dope. When I was at Stagecoach, and Morgan Wallen was the headliner, obviously this past year, and like the walkout that they had on screen there with him like dabbing people up, and bro, this Morgan Wallen walkouts are in terms of music unmatched.
But
Like,
well, those walkouts are really supposed to be like, they're off of sports walkouts because like, are there other
they are.
music walkouts? And he walked out the other day with Peyton dressed in the full Tennessee
I saw that.
volunteer outfit.
Yeah, bro, his walkouts are dope. Yeah, I feel like if you called me out for the Jordan walkout, the Morgan Wallen as a sport walkout, I guess. But yeah, I wasn't even thinking that. I'm
It
glad you
wasn't on
shouted
my
that out
list.
though.
It
I'm
was
glad
just an honorable mention. It wasn't like
he
you, the
does have great
number one
walkouts.
pick, number one pick,
He does have great walkouts.
doing a walkout that wasn't even a walkout.
I would say it was a walkout. You gotta check it. But yo, look it up. Like, no bullshit. Look up if that was a walkout. The internet will tell you it was a walkout. So it depends how you want to define walkout. But I've clarified with like Chat GPT. I've looked at Reddit. I've looked at other people would say that was a walkout. It was a little bit. It was on my draft board, had an asterisk. But as soon as I confirmed with my sources, I had to pick a number one. It's just the most iconic. I think it's the most iconic. I don't
Well,
think
it
there's
is
a debate in
iconic.
that.
It's
It
an
is the
intro
most
though.
iconic.
It's more of an intro
But
than a
it
walk.
can be used as a walkout, and they definitely have walked out to that at some point in there.
I'm not sure they have, but we'll check it, and we could also ask the audience whether or not they believe that that is a walkout. I don't think it is.
Valid number one pick. I think I won the draft. Anyways, we will move to the next segment. Let me put you on. I know we've each got a few things. Do you want to hit me with your music on? Since we just talked about Morgan Wallen, hit me with your music put ons.
Got it. All right. So I got two music put ons. First one is one of my all-time favorites. Future dropped an album, I think it was like a week ago, called Mixtape Pluto.
Okay.
Just, straight up classic Future with like his like wicked, self-destructive, like gremlin type music.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's definitely towards the end of his career, but he still like brings it, and he's one of these guys that just like he gets away with things that no other artist can, and just like what he does in his songs. And so a couple of my favorite tracks are the first track, Teflon Don, right out the gate, goes hard. Lil Demon, another one that's really hard. Surfing a Tsunami, Ocean, and then my favorite track on it, and the one that's kind of going viral, is Plutoski. Okay. And
Toasty. Okay.
there's all these clips about it. It's the most memorable track because the first time you hear it, you're like, what the fuck is going on? And basically, it's because the chorus, it's almost like incoherent what he's saying. He's
Okay.
like, trapping out the trap,
Yeah.
flapping
Yeah.
out the strap, I'm flipping, like
I've
that's
seen.
what the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
chorus
Yeah. Yeah.
is.
I've
And
heard it.
so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
everybody's making these like, funny videos about it of
Mhm.
like, the first time you hear it and you're like, what? And then the second time you hear it and you're like, it's all right. And then the third time you hear it, it's like catchy and you're like super into it. And people are taking it in all different
Uh,
types of directions.
our guy Quamsy needs to
Yeah.
give his take.
That's a good shout. Yeah. I'm honestly, I'd be surprised if he hasn't already done one of the songs off the
Something.
album.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
I'm
if
gonna go look up.
he hasn't, this is like we're putting out the APB, like he's got to do the Plutoski
Oh,
skit.
100%.
Okay.
100%. How does this album compare? Like, if you said you're a massive Future guy.
Yeah.
If you had to like, give it a number out of 10, what would that be?
It would probably not be towards the top. It would be either in the middle or middle towards the bottom. But it's still really good. Anything that Future does, I'm always into. There's really no features on the album, which is kind of unique for Future. Anytime he puts out music, like there's always going to be at least a couple tracks that are going to end up as liked songs that go into my rotation. So, yeah, I would say you check it out. Let me know what you think, because I'd be curious which tracks you like on the album and whether you like it or not. Okay.
I will. Yeah, yeah.
So that's number one. And then I have a song, and it's an old school song. And basically, I saw a clip the other day of Andy Chavez making his like famous catch, right? Which I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever seen that. It's one of the greatest plays of all time.
I know what you're talking about.
And I was there. I watched it live. So it was like the
Really?
best, yeah, it was the best highlight or thing that I've ever seen in a sporting event live it was game 7, Mets Cardinals playoff series. Um,
2006?
I think it was 2000. Maybe I can't remember what year off the top of
NLCS
my head.
game 7.
NLCS,
Yeah, 2006.
incredible. He makes the catch, he throws it back, doubles the guy off. We think we're going to win, and lo and behold, Beltran gets caught looking as strike 3 in the bottom of the 9th with men on. And it was one of the saddest kind of like walks back to the train going home. Anyways, saw this clip the other day, and it was set to a cover of the song Linger by the Cranberries. I don't know if you've
Oh,
ever heard. You know that
oh,
song?
you had yeah, man. The Cranberries and Linger has been coming back on. I shit you not. Let me pull this up right now.
Wait, so
Linger.
this clip is set to that song, but it's a cover version of it. It's a Sirius XM session by a guy named Royel Otis, who I've never heard of. And it's a really good kind of rendition of it. And it like immediately elicited this like emotional response from me, in part because of how memorable that play was and that time in my life, but also because it was just like a haunting in the best way possible type of track. And then it made me go back and listen to the original version by the Cranberries, which
Yeah,
is just such a great song, right?
I
Like,
man, I downloaded it like a few weeks ago because it's been popping off on socials. But
yeah.
Linger, I listened to that growing up.
Yeah. And you know what? It's so funny because, like what you're mentioning, I completely forgot about that song. And
Me
then it
too.
became like a trending song, or like this cover has become trending. And that's one thing that I love about social, of like rediscovering the songs that you forgot about.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's funny. Would you have thought that I wouldn't know what Linger is?
I don't know. I actually had a note of like, find out if Cal's ever heard that song. But I will just say this about that song. It's like the beginning of it kind of like builds to that
Yeah,
part. And then when it gets to like, oh my God.
don't let it burn. And then he's just like, yeah, man. I love that song.
You
I love
have
that
to,
song.
you have to, you have
Straight
to let
banger.
it
I
linger.
have it in my mix right now. My buddies and Jules and everyone knows that it's a top 10 song for me at the moment in terms of
So
my
good.
plays. So Linger,
So
I
good.
got you. That um okay, so that's your music. I'll go. I've got a I'll start with the podcast.
Okay.
I think you're gonna like this one because you've been talking a lot about communicating, psychology, influence, understanding humans, and so this podcast is a Mel Robbins podcast, and she has on Jefferson Fisher, and it's on how to be a better communicator. Um, and so it's in like it's on the charts right now. I saw it. I was like, let me give this a listen. And here's like the TLDR. So he talks a lot about how when you meet individuals, the way that they perceive you and the way that they are going to judge you is by how you communicate, because that's all they can, base it off of. So how you communicate is super important to getting any deal done, to befriending people, to everything. And so he talks about a few key things. One being clarity over conflict. So, emphasizes the importance of expressing yourself clearly and confidently, especially during disagreements, and like gives techniques for avoiding miscommunication and diffusing tense conversations by really focusing on the other person's perspective. So instead of, getting defensive and going into your, you know, hey, this is where I'm at, this actually instead understand where the other person's at, and you're able to diffuse situations by doing that instead of
Love
getting
that.
so into yourself first. So that was interesting. He goes into like handling disrespect and provides, for me specifically, I can get pretty, if someone like cuts me off or someone says something to me, I get very fiery.
Yeah.
Um, and so, just he provides strategies for responding calmly and assertively if someone disrespects you, and, goes into specific phrases that you should be saying probably instead of what I would be saying. So that was interesting. And then, yeah, man, like, get to know a little bit of public speaking and then tactical communication. So how to strategically communicate without manipulating, but ensuring your message is both respectful and persuasive. So yeah, overall, it was an interesting podcast to hear him talk about just the art of communicating, because it's something that I don't really think about on a day to day, is like, how do I talk? How do I communicate with people? And hearing them go back and forth around, these different concepts, and how to be a more effective communicator was super interesting. So I would recommend that Mel Robbins podcast with Jefferson Fisher, who is the communications expert. So it was good.
That sounds great. I mean, what's her name? Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins. Yeah.
I've always been
Yeah.
into like she's like a motivational speaker, and
She
I
is.
didn't know that
Author.
she had a pod, so I'm interested to check out her pod. But on the communication tip, um yeah, I think a lot of people, especially, people that are like young in their 20s, early 20s, don't realize how important communication is. I know like public speaking is another one where it's,
Yeah.
it's so tough, and just to be able to get your message across effectively. Um, and then obviously the stuff that you're talking about in terms of diffusing situations and resolving conflicts. And that is something that really comes with experience, because I just think back to myself, and like when in my younger days, being so quick to be defensive and contentious in certain conversations when really that wasn't the best outcome, that wouldn't lead to the best outcome. So um, communication's key. I was a communications major, just so you know.
Really?
I
Okay.
was. Yeah.
That's an interesting major. Where'd you go to college again? You actually, I
Univer-
know, Wisconsin.
yeah, University of Wisconsin. I was actually a communications major, but radio, TV, and film focused communications
Yes,
major.
I do remember that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, give that the Mel Robbins pod with Jefferson Fisher a shot when you get a chance. But let's move on to. I know you said you've got a few creators. Give me one. No, give me two, and then I'll give you one, and then give me your last.
Okay. Um, okay. So my first creator, well, there are two of them. They're called the Hulett Brothers. Hulett, Hulett underscore brothers. I'm sure a lot of people have seen their videos before. Dan and David Hulett, and they do all types of trick shots, and just like
Yeah,
just like light, type of content that always is entertaining. And these guys do like the funniest types of trick shots. They're doing like bat flips to make them land straight. They're hitting, badminton balls onto glue sticks. They have these elaborate balloon tricks with darts and ping pong balls. They're throwing frisbees onto sword covers. They're hitting pickleball paddles into bowling pins, and then they're kicking cups into moving wheel targets. And like what are those things called? Mentos. They're throwing Mentos
yeah,
into
yeah. Into like Coke.
Coca-Cola bottles. They're
Yeah, yeah.
dropping papers from ladders into shredders and hangers onto hooks, all types of shit. And every time they land one of these trick shots, they have the same kind of like patent celebration, which is an enthusiastic "Let's go." They both like jump up and they go "Let's go," and I like their videos where they show their compilations of how long each trick shot
That's always
took
what I wonder.
to complete,
Like
right? Because like
how many tries?
some of them are like 30 minutes, but others are like 8 hours and 40 minutes and or like 12 hours and like, 24 minutes. And so obviously these guys are kind of like proteges of the dude perfect guys, but still just super entertaining every time it pops up on my feed.
I think yeah, I know exactly the guys you're talking about. It's interesting some of the trick shots they do with like the airplanes and because I see guys who do just sport ones, but these guys have the discs into like they do a bunch of different shit like
And
that. And I love
they're
that.
doing them together. They're like kind of
The
like
brother
doing them.
dynamic is
Yeah, they're
yeah.
like in tandem. So that's another like interesting part of it.
I
Anyways, just
love I love the brother type social, like the Pointer Brothers is always who I think of as well. Obviously, they don't
uh
do trick shots, but just like that dynamic. If you've got a good bro, relationship, and they're both able to do the content together, it just makes it that much better. Versus if it was one guy doing the trick shots, it's a different vibe.
and it's also kind of just like wholesome content in my mind because it's just,
All the
it's just
family stuff, yeah.
fun content. The other guy I have, um, before we go to before we go back to you is it's a handle. Well, it's a guy. I think his name is Shane, but it's spelled Cheyne. Shane Gitsham, at Slick Pup on TikTok, at Shane Gitsham on IG. This
Yeah.
dude, he looks like a college kid. I assume he goes to the University of Hawaii because he shoots most of his content on campus there.
Okay.
And what he does is kind of like the classic man on the street type of content. But his main thing is that he goes up to people as they're walking by listening to music and asks them, "What song are you
I've seen
listening
this
to?"
guy. Yes, I know who you're talking about.
And it's honestly like this simple formula, but it's one that kind of taps into our like voyeuristic human nature of wanting to know
What's
things that we aren't privy to.
yeah?
And it's interesting to hear what people are listening to as they're walking to work or class or to grab lunch. He also has like a classic Cal type question that he does, which is, "What's your favorite song of all time?" He'll just roll up to somebody, "What's your favorite song of all time?" Which I think is an impossible question to
It's
answer
tough.
on the
Yeah,
spot.
on the spot. Yep.
But for the random people that he sees on the street and he asks, it's always entertaining because somehow, no matter what their response is, as you watch them kind of walk off, they play the song and their song choice kind of like matches their look and their personality and their walking style. It's a little crazy how much it matches. But yeah, just like really simple formula and it just works.
What's crazy is we didn't talk about that before. Like I don't know who you're putting me onto, And I've seen this guy probably a year. Like I saw his content a bunch a year ago, whatever. Haven't seen it at all, and hasn't been on my mind at all. This morning, I woke up, I was scrolling, and I saw one video from this guy
Yeah.
about, hey, what are you listening to, and what's your favorite song of all time, but didn't think anything of it, and hadn't seen and saw him before, and so I wonder, yeah, there's some weird shit, but that's crazy.
You think our algos are like intertwined right now, or what?
A little bit, maybe.
The when he asks, "What are you listening to?" Those ones don't usually match like the person. Those can be all like across the board, and that's also kind of interesting.
It's
Where it's like
interesting.
you see some innocent looking girl, and she's listening to the most like gangster
Yeah,
rap song, and then you see like a tough looking guy and they're listening to like some pop song, and so it's always just, and I'm always listening to the random songs on shuffle too, so you catch me at the right time, I could be listening to some weird fucking shit.
I feel that. Yeah, I'm same way. So, okay, I'll go before you give your last one. I've
All
got
right.
a creator. Um, this stuff, I just love this type of content. It's similar to someone like Vukum, who I put you onto with the watches. But as a collector, sports fan, and competitor, I love the negotiating back and forth videos. And so, it just been the ad is king of the cards, cards with a K. And yeah, just legit at trade shows or other things. Sposta would fucking love this. Um, but the negotiating and dealing, high end sports cards and trying to get the best deal back and forth. Just some about that content, man. If you're able to do it right and it's quick, I just love that stuff. So, King of the Cards is the ad. He's been on my feed a lot recently, and just wanted to shout that out in terms of the style of content. So, that's my creator.
I think I've seen him. I
You
wish I
probably
had
have.
mentioned this in the intro, but Spasta just recently took
Yeah,
me to a card event at all the way uptown in New York, in Harlem. We went to a Fanatics Sotheby's event where they were auctioning off like really high price sports cards. I had no idea what I was walking into.
yeah.
I'll just say this: there were like 100 people in the room. It it was star studded. Like we walked in, and right behind us was like Tom Brady and Meek Mill and Logan Paul, and then Bob Kraft and all these like sports owners. Shad Khan, Malik Neighbors was there. It was
That's
like
crazy.
everywhere I looked. Yeah, and then I came home the next day, and I was telling my oldest son, and he's like, why didn't you get me any autographs? Like, why didn't you take any pictures? Like, he was like mad at me. And I'm just like, I just didn't want to bother anybody. Like, I'm just,
Yeah. Were they bidding? Were those guys bidding on the items?
most of them were not bidding. Um, Gary Vee was there. He was bidding. There was
Gary
one
was
moment
bidding?
that was
That's
kind of
funny.
interesting where Tom Brady's sitting front row and like they put up a Tom Brady card, like a one of one rookie,
Yeah.
like auto, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, people are just going to bid because he's here. And they were going back and forth, and then somebody won, and it turned out it was Bob Kraft was the one
No shit.
that bid on
How
his
much
card.
how much did
100,
that go for?
150,000 or something like that, dropping the bucket.
Shit. That's super interesting that you were at that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's
So
dope.
yeah, shout out to Spasta for letting me tag along there. All right, so my last handle isn't really a creator, but let's go back to the animals. I'm a big animal guy.
Mhm.
It is a handle called at Mandalay Farms, and Mandalay Farms is basically some private exotic animal farm in Jupiter, Florida. It's run by a former model and actress named Karen Taylor. And it has all these like different types of animals, kookaburras, bush babies, emus, toucans,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But just like with Cindy the baboon, there's one animal there that is the main attraction. And that is I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but the prehensile tailed porcupine,
Okay.
and its name is Quinn, and it's literally one of the strangest yet cutest looking animals I've ever seen. if you look him up, Quinn, the
Yeah.
porcupine, he he's got like these black and white spiky quills that make him look like Derek Zoolander. He's got
Yeah.
this huge like schnoz, this huge burgundy nose with super long whiskers, and these like beaver buck teeth, and then like raccoon style hands with little fingers, and somehow it all just works. He's adorable. There's a lot of these videos of Quinn are just like ASMR style of him eating sweet potatoes, which he seems to love. Should also
That's
mention there's
hilarious.
another porcupine there that looks just like Quinn named Quilby, who's kind of like the Robin to Quinn's Batman. And
Quilby's a great name. Quinn and
great
Quilby.
name. And whatever the case, I could watch these videos all day long, so don't judge me.
Have you seen Pesto?
Who's Pesto?
Look up Pesto after this like most gigantic baby penguin who's like all green. Pesto is taking over the internet as well. It's in some sort of in a zoo somewhere as well.
Taking
Pesto
over
is a
the
penguin.
internet more than Mudang, the baby hippo.
No. Moodang's number one, but Pesto would be top three. Pesto would probably have more pull right now than Quinn and Quillaby.
It's, by the way, I like the name. I like the name Pesto. Do me a favor, real quick. I'm sending you a video of what this what this porcupine looks like because you have to see him. Hold on 1 second. This is gonna make for some good. Oh, I'm on my. What did I say that at was? Mandalay, right?
Yeah,
Mandalay
yeah.
Farms. Dropping at the because you just have to see what this guy looks like. He's incredible.
You love the animal content. It's
I
very on brand
mean,
for you.
yeah, because like there's nothing better. There's first off, there's nothing better than seeing animals that you've never seen before, like crazy looking animals that you've never seen before.
True.
Um, and I think like it also makes you less scared of animals that maybe you would have been scared of, had you not seen it. You see that video I sent you or
Oh
no?
yeah, yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's an interesting looking porcupine.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's crazy. The nose is fucking insane.
Yeah, the nose is insane, and like the color, like the black and white,
Yeah, it's dope.
it's almost like it was designed, like
It looks
like a
fake.
designer porcupine.
Yeah, yeah. It looks dope. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, well, yo, my last put on is not an animal, but it is another brand. This brand is a shoe company,
Okay.
and it is called Flowers for Society. Essentially, they use recycled materials only, dope looking shoes, but the standout for me is the colorways, like very mute. Feel like I could wear any of them with anything, as well as the soles. Like if you look up their style of shoe, the soles are super cool looking. And Flowers for Society, they're doing well from what I've seen. I think they got like 26K on IG, but it's definitely an up and coming brand. It's hard to cement yourself in the shoe industry. So yeah, Flowers for Society is one to watch, and they got dope shit, dope shoes. So
I'm already on the page right now looking at them. Yo, these kind of look like Yeezys a little bit, some of them.
for sure, similar vibe. Like these are again all recycled material. It says vegan again, not necessarily my thing. Like not, but very.
What does that mean that they're vegan? You could eat
I have
them?
no clue. I have no clue. I think it means that no animals are harmed in the making of them.
They
But
have
yeah,
like a crazy is that the sole, like the bottom
yeah,
part of
what I'm telling, yeah, yeah, with like the lines and the white and the
Yeah, that's what makes me feel like they look like Yeezy style, and especially the first ones that you go on. There's one that look very cool. These look cool.
yeah, they're cool. It's a cool brand. So yeah, check that out. And then the last thing I'll say, the last put on is I talked about these in the past. I want to put you back onto them because I don't think you've taken action. but red light glasses, the benefits are they block sleep disrupting blue light and are supposed to realign your body's rhythm with nature and you get the best sleep of your life. And bro, I got to pull them out. I've been wearing them before I sleep, and these are like a game changer. Yeah, man. Overall health, my sleep's way better. The red light glasses, you heard of blue light glasses, but red light glasses are the new wave. These are fucking legit. I got mine from Aura Optics is the
Uh-huh.
brand, but yeah, bro, you got to get a pair. These are
That's a
dope.
real look that you got going on with those red light glasses. I mean, I have the red
So good.
eyes too, but it's not from the glasses. It's from something else.
Man, these you got to get them. So yeah, that's my last. Let me put you on. Wanted to end on those two. We are going to finish with half baked ideas. So for the half baked ideas here, I'll go and then I'll let you end us off.
Okay.
My half baked idea has to do. It's in the food sector. So essentially, so many times you don't want to cook, right? And it's like, let me just order food. But it's like, but then you're still like having to think about what you want to order. You still have to, go through the process, look at all the different options you've got, pick what you want to eat, order. It's, from a lazy perspective, that's way easier than cooking food, but it's still, you're doing stuff. So my idea is a food delivery service where you just put in your allergies, and you put in maybe a few preferences in terms of what your favorite kind of food is, but it's a food delivery service where you don't know what you got till it arrives. So it's like what you would do is you input any dietary restrictions and allergies, but beyond that, once you press order, you can set a budget, like you said, whatever you set, $30, $15, $20, whatever. But whatever price amount you put in and you order, it's a complete surprise. You could be getting freaking ramen to pizza to like,
Interesting.
so
Very
so it's
interesting.
so it reminded me of, and I was just thinking, like, who doesn't love a little food roulette, like, want to be surprised like that
Uh-huh.
with the delivery service? I think it's dope. And it reminded me a little bit of, they do those flights where you can book a flight but not like an unknown and not know where you're going. All they tell you is the climate, so they'll be like hot, and then you show up to the airport, you get in the plane. I forget what companies did, the airlines did this, but you get in the plane, and as soon as like you're about to land, that's when you find out they're like, you're going to Mauritius, and they're like, holy fuck. So it was kind of like, I got the vibe off that, is like with food, I don't need to always pick, like I want to be surprised. I feel like a lot of people say surprise me. So with the food delivery service, that's just a complete surprise depending on your budget. Fucking banger. So that's my idea.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of people that would not be down to just be surprised with their
That's fair.
meals. What if you get something and you're just like, no, I don't want to eat this, right?
Then
Like,
that sucks. Then
yeah, it
that's
does
tough.
suck. It
But
is
what if you get something that's the best thing you've ever tried and you never would have tried that otherwise, or
Well,
it's the
this is
best
what I was
spot
gonna
in
say
town?
is like that it's definitely a half-baked idea, but the best meal I've ever had in my entire life. Okay. I went on vacation. I was with Allie, my wife. We were in Mexico and we were at some restaurant, and it was like, granted, it was like one of those like Michelin star restaurants. And all you did was tell them what you were allergic to,
And
and
they
then the
curated it. Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
chef just went out and got the freshest ingredients, and so we had no idea what was coming out, and it was the most magical meal, most delicious meal I've ever had. And I think part of it was the fact that like I had no idea what was coming out. I was just trying whatever it was. So
Where in
that's
Mexico were
interesting.
you?
I was in Cabo.
Okay. Hit me if you remember what that restaurant is called. If you
Oh
figure it
yeah.
out. It
Are
doesn't
you
need to be
near
right now.
Cabo right now or no?
We might end the stint in Cabo. I'm on the same coast. Like I'm close enough. I'm in Cancun area, Tulum, but um, there's a bunch of good restaurants in Mexico, obviously. So um,
Bro, I gotta. There's no
yeah,
way I
find it.
remember what it's called, but I'm gonna try and look it up because you have to hit that spot if it's still around.
Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah, yeah. Let me know. But yeah, so overall, you think it's an interesting idea? I'm still on a
I
roll.
Yeah, you're on a roll. I think like you're really tapping into some creativity with all of these ideas. You know, I feel almost like I all my best ideas were like the first like 20 episodes, and the last 10 episodes I'm just like reaching, you know. But
Let's hear yours.
all right, so mine's kind of a food idea, also like playing off of your idea.
Okay.
So here's the thing: after I eat a meal, the last thing I want to do is the dishes, right?
Yeah.
Wash the dishes. Okay, that's annoying. Then dry the dishes, then put them back. And yeah, you could just put them in the dishwasher, but I have one of these dishwashers that once it's finished washing all the dishes, you still have to dry them. Like they're not
Yeah.
all
It's
the
still
way dry.
very wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of times like when I either empty the dishwasher or if I'm just like, all right, I'm going to clean these up and dry them, whatever, I'll wash the dishes and then I'll let them air dry and I'll just put them on like the counter on the side. Drives my wife crazy. She gets so mad. She's like, who's going to dry those? Like, you're going to come back and dry them later. It's like, I'm going to end up having to dry them. Anyways, it made me think, what if there was a contraption that was made where they were shaped kind of like plate and utensils, right? Like plate and utensil shaped with an opening that it would go through. And then on the inside, it'd be lined with like some sort of towel type fabric and it would be
Yeah.
really tight on the inside. So basically you're taking a plate and you're like kind of like putting it through and then it comes out on the other side and it's dry. Same thing with forks, knives,
Yeah.
spoons, just like put it in, comes out dry, just put it away, you know? And so I'm not like spending time taking the towel
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
doing the
Yeah.
whole thing. It's just like a quick, like, joop, joop, boom, right? It's
I
like a
like that
drive by.
idea.
It's like a little bit of a drive by, but I call it a dry by. Okay. That's the
That's
name
a good
for
name. You always got the names for your ideas. Mine are just the ideas. You've got. I feel like you are one of the. What do they say with startups? It's like, hey, figure out the idea, figure out how to execute. The name is the last thing
the
that's
last
important
thing
for you. It's like
first.
the name needs to be bang on. I've got all my names lined up, and then we'll figure out what the idea is. Like,
Doesn't matter
yeah,
what the product is, just needs a good name,
good
needs a
name,
memorable name. Um,
marketability.
it's
Yeah, that's
probably not a good
interesting.
name because of the gun kind of connotations to it, but
True, I didn't
it
think about that. It's
half
an
baked.
interesting idea, though. I think I would use that. Yeah, I agree. Dishwashers are very hit or miss. It saves the time of drying. I mean, with my idea, you don't even need dishes. So we could skip the dishes and just have food delivery every night, but that's more expensive. So, we do need to eat at home sometimes. And so between the two of ours, we're covering every night meal
I
and
have a
we're
name
good.
for you.
So,
Um, Delivery roulette.
yeah, I probably would have come up with that as well. Thank you, though. A little, a little.
Food roulette.
There's probably an angle. Yeah, food roulette. There's probably an angle too where maybe there's even like a roulette spinner on the app where every time you like it's a flat standard $20 fee per meal or something, and every depending on the roulette you get like in so you only pay 20 but you can play roulette and your meal could be worth up to $100 or as low as like $10 and you're just like playing roulette to see how much value you're getting for. I don't know that now I'm
Well,
taking it a bit.
look, I see
You know what
it
I'm
two
saying
ways.
though?
Yeah, just to go back to your idea, I see it two ways. One is like I have such issues with trying to figure out what to eat. Bless you.
Thank
Trying to
you.
figure out what to eat for dinner every night. And it's like, oh, it's so annoying. Sometimes I just wish somebody would
I
just
know.
like make that decision for me. So there's
That's what
that
I'm
one
saying.
side of it. On the other side of things, I'm the type of guy that like if I'm going to a restaurant, again, this drives my wife crazy, but if I'm going to a restaurant,
You look up the menu before, right?
I'm not only do I look up the menu, I go on
You know what
Yelp,
you're gonna eat.
I look at the pictures of the food to see
That's
what looks the
crazy.
best,
That's
and then I don't want to be surprised. I don't want to take a chance. I want to know that what I'm going to order looks like already is something that looks like something I would eat. And that's what I do.
That's borderline psychotic behavior to look up fucking
Why?
photos of the.
Why? Why
That's
wouldn't you want to know?
crazy.
Why wouldn't you want to have more information about the thing
Be,
that you're putting into your
because
body?
Because the best things in life are surprises. Why? Like, do you need to know every single ingredient that's in your tacos that you're having in Mexico? You just said the best meal you've ever. Maybe you think about that, and now you have more best meals of your life if you do that.
It was a Michelin star restaurant, so I had faith
So
that this guy was going to deliver.
there's lots of Michelin star restaurants in New York. No, you live in like
I'm
one of
just
the
saying, like on a surprise tip, like with food, I I want to
fair.
know.
I
I
hear
want
you.
to have more information, and I want to look and see what looks good, because usually if it looks good, it tastes good. That's really what it boils down to.
The thing I would argue though is sure you're going on Yelp and looking it up before, that's fine, that's a different thing. But at the restaurants that have photos of the food on the menus, they're always shit.
Right.
Like 95% of the time. If you're a restaurant and you put photos of like each of the dishes beside it on the menu, you know that shit's gonna be fucking.
Here, let me give you a good analogy. Think back to when you were single, okay? Would you ever like go on a date with somebody without looking at pictures of them and seeing what they look like and trying to get like some info on them? Or were you completely okay with just going complete, like blind date?
I don't
Come
know.
on, just answer it honestly.
I would prefer to see photos 100%, but that
Okay.
is a very different scenario, I would say. And the blind dates aren't bad. Like sometimes blind dates are the best thing ever. Maybe not for me, but the but like you don't have to be attracted to like the food could look like shit and still taste good is my point. A woman can't look like shit and still taste good.
Yeah, where are you going with that? First, by the way, again, chances are when you have food and it doesn't look good, most of the time it does not taste good. It's very, very
Because you're getting in your own head. Like you're
no,
looking
no,
at it,
no. That
you're looking at it, you're like, oh, this doesn't look good. And then
no,
you're
that's
thinking,
not
okay,
true.
it's not good. If I blindfolded you and put like the five best looking things and the five worst looking things, but it's about the ingredients, I guarantee you would fuck with the worst look if you're blindfolded and you're not thinking about, oh, this kind of looks like throw up. Oh, this
No,
it's all in your head,
no,
100%.
there's a real connection. And here, I'll tell you why. If I like think about like Portnoy, right, with the one bite reviews, when you see the slice, I feel like most of the time I know which slices are gonna he's gonna give the best scores to.
But
It's the ones that
sometimes you're
look the
surprised.
best.
Sometimes you're surprised though.
Rarely, very rarely. Like when it looks like budget, pizza, it usually is budget
But
pizza, and
there's only so many like pizza. It can look like shit. It could look good, but you can't decipher great from good with the way a pizza looks most of the time.
how's this?
It's about the ingredients.
This is what I propose. Next restaurant you go to, okay? Before you go on Yelp, look at the pictures, then order something based off of what looks the best, and let's, reconvene and discuss whether or not you think that's an interesting good strategy, or slash
It.
if it ended up being a really good meal.
I can tell you right now, I will do that, but 100%, it won't be a good strategy in the sense that I all I care about if I look up a menu, I just care about number one the prices, and number two the what it is in the food. So if I'm having a pasta and it has crab,
Pasta.
thi- this linguine, whatever. If I like every ingredient in that, I'll get the whatever, and it'll be good. Versus if I look up me looking up a photo isn't changing whether I'm getting it or not. Like all I
You'd
need
be
to see is the
surprised.
ingredient. I 100, bro. I'm telling you right now though, like unless it looked disgusting, it's not changing whether I'm getting it or not. I can tell you
Listen,
that with 100%
there have been
certainty.
a lot of times where I've looked at menus and then I've gone on Yelp and it does not look as appetizing as the words on the menu. And I'm like,
We
you know
need
what? Actually, I'm not gonna get that pork chop.
we need to clip this and see if anyone else does this shit where they fucking look up the photos on Yelp of the food before and like we this needs to be like its own segment because we just debated back and forth for probably 10 minutes and I need the world to know whether your option is valid or you're being ridiculous.
Okay. Yeah. I'm down to run the experiment. Let's see. By the way, I do think I'm being ridiculous, but I also feel like there are probably a lot of people out there that can relate to that strategy and that maybe that do the same thing.
I'm
I
curious if people
wouldn't
do
be
the same thing.
surprised.
That's what I want to know. If
Okay.
anyone else does, like every time, like you said, every time you're going out, you do that. It's not just like on occasion, correct?
For dinners, like for like nice
Yeah,
dinners
I
to
get
a
it. Okay,
restaurant I've
so
never been to. Yeah.
every time. Okay, okay.
It's me
Well,
versus you and my wife because you guys are definitely on the same page here. You both are hating very hard on me.
I'm the what we'll end with is sometimes the best things in life are surprises, and I think that the surprise food, maybe you, the surprise delivery food roulette, maybe you aren't my target consumer, but there are a bunch of people who don't want to have to make decisions on dinner and do want to be surprised on what they get because it could be the best food they've ever had.
I thought it
That's the
was a good
only. That's
idea. I thought it was an interesting
no,
concept.
I know you did.
And I gave you, and I did say, like, there are two sides to it, right? There's the one side where I like to
I
be
know
prepared. And then there's the other side where I never know what to order. And so sometimes I want somebody to make that decision for me.
exactly. Great.
But yes, I didn't expect to have this conversation with you. And it's a very important conversation.
It is. It is. With that being said, we will end our important conversation there. Till the next episode, the Put On Podcast, episode 29 in the books.
Later, Cal.
Thank you for tuning into the Put On Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and don't forget to follow us on social at the Put On Pod.